I had to record an ad while I still had the stash. You know, that's why our advertisers pay the big dollars. Our first one, of course, Squaring Around is proud to be brought to you by Elite Sports. It's the only apparel company that's got our official podcast gear. If you want to support the show, buy a hat, buy a sweater, buy a jacket, buy a baby's onesie. We got it all. EliteSports.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout. Squaring Around is also proud to be brought to you by Homefield Apparel. Homefield is your one-stop shop to get every team in the entire universe of college athletics. Not Texas State yet, but I promise I've been sending these off-season emails. What have you guys been doing to get this partnership off the ground? Hey, I'll take the money where I can get it. Homefield.com. Use code SQUARE at checkout. Buy a friend a gift. Buy something to something. Hey.
Tired of winning the tailgate, but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squaring Around with Jakob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Squaring Around. I'm Jakob Rodriguez. That's the Texas State Sports President, Andrew Zimmel. Andrew, I want to talk to you about a lot of things. Mostly,
I'm excited.
Here's the big headline for everybody. Texas State is going to the Pac-12, probably, parentheses. Most likely, parentheses.
Look, I always thought you were going to come on here and go, Zimmel, how does crow taste? And I'd say, Jakob, how's that pie on your face? And we'd go back and forth like that. No, it's tough, man. It finally feels like there's real smoke to this fire. We've seen the bot accounts for the past, 3 months? It's pretty much been 3 months now since we've seen the first rumors of Texas State to the Pac-12. And it's grown and grown and grown. You wonder how much of it is real, how much of those people actually had sources versus how many people are just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think there's a lot of angles you can take here. We've done our case for and against it many of times. I think it's kind of interesting that the Sun Belt, the other schools, are very okay with us leaving, which is very interesting to me. But that's fine. So we can take wherever you want to go. We can go with it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, my goose is cooked. I'm eating crow. It tastes like shit, to be honest with you. It's not a good feeling to be wrong like that. But also, nobody else in the entire world was saying this wasn't going to happen. We were the few, the proud, the naysayers that were saying, hey, Texas State is going to take the higher road. Surely, underdeveloped conference, underdeveloped deals, underdeveloped money? Question mark. Nobody even really knows how much.
Let me tell you that's a good entrance ramp for my money take.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 11 million floating around for a full share. Jakob, there's no way that it's 11 million. I firmly disagree with the idea that it's going to be 11 million, especially when you consider the media rights deal where they're going to be. Allegedly, it's going to be on TNT, the CW, maybe some Fox affiliates, maybe ESPN Plus as well. It's a hodgepodge of different places. I don't believe in any world it's going to be 11 million.
And you guys will remember that this has been going on for months, as Andrew alluded to, right? There's been bot account after literally a bot account challenging me to a fight and then pulling up to the gym the other day.
Really? They pulled up to the gym?
Somebody asked where I was. I don't think they were actually there. But yeah, Pixar didn't happen. You didn't show up. By the way, I got dogs out there that'll sniff you out in a hurry. If you beat me up, guess what? 6 other guys are going to beat you up in the parking lot.
All right. That's an interesting development to how things are going. But
I'm being stalked, basically, is what's going on. But as you were saying, this has been going on for months on end. People have been saying this is going to happen. Now it looks as if things are going to happen. I don't think what Pete Thamel does is actual journalism. Getting leaks from schools, collecting a check.
You don't think that's real journalism?
Office. He's not doing any legwork for this. He just works at ESPN. He's getting this stuff leaked to him. It's not like he's like texting these guys every day. If I could imagine how many stories I would break if people just texted me what I thought they were going to do every time.
I don't think that's fair to Pete. I like Pete Thamel. and I think that he has good sources. I do think that the
How
four
many times
letters.
Pete Thamel ever been at UFCU Stadium? Let me ask you that.
I will say, I
None
think that
times.
the four letters do help when it comes to story breaking. You can see that pretty much in any anywhere.
Yeah.
UT, Texas State, the Spurs, the four letters really helps you get access and to get information. So that's not to say that, he's not a good journalist. I think that he's a fine journalist.
What has he
I
done
would have,
besides an administrator leaking information to him?
here's what I would say. Colton, Kef, us to a lesser extent, why aren't we the people that they're leaking information to? Hmm?
Dude, it's because, and I've theorized this already, that Texas State wants to be big time. They've wanted to be big time for a very long time. Actually, in a manner of speaking, making this jump in conferences, probably, again, parentheses, most likely, again, parentheses, is what people have wanted for a long time. For Texas State, a heritage football brand in some people's minds, at least in the Hill Country area,
In some people's
in some people's
minds.
minds. I mean, because the fact is, yes, we do have like kind of a pedigree, but also to another extent, we kind of don't. You know what I'm saying?
It's a pedigree in a different class. It would be like if we're going to dog shows and you're bringing a cat. That's what
Perfect.
Texas State is. Like we are not in the same league as Baylor and TCU and Texas A&M, and I think we're fine with that because we have our own pedigree. We have our own wins and championships at the FCS and Division II level. Like I don't take anything away from it. That's fine. 1981 and 82 will always be in the arena. Like I'm fine with that. But it is, I feel, kind of wild to say that. And for everybody who hated Larry Tice, he had the famous quote, Texas State fans just want us to go to the Big 12. That's never going to happen. I do think that this is part of the I'm going to show my ex-AD that we can go to a power conference, even though it's a zombie power conference. This is like the Pac-12 2.0 that just isn't there. Like
Yeah.
that's not the same. It's not the same conference.
For everybody celebrating this win, I also need those same people to be like, okay, I understand this is not the Pac-12 of old. And
I will tell you,
we had a
I'm zagging
conversation
hard.
last week with Kelly too about this because we were like, hey, this isn't the same thing. We all know it's not the same thing. Not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying. And he goes, okay, but name one conference that is.
The SEC, the Big Ten. Like, what are we talking about? That's such a dumb. I don't know. Sorry, I love Kelly. That's a dumb argument.
That's what I'm saying.
Conference?
Not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying.
What conference is still the same? The ones that are winning national championship. I don't know. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
And here is where I know you and I both fall, and which is why I think it's dumb that we don't get access sometimes, or it's dumb that we're not invited to the stadium to watch practice from time to time. Because, like, at the end of the day, you and I are Bobcats, and we want the best for this university at all possible, right? Because
For sure.
anything good that Texas State does looks good on you and me. Personally, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, whatever Texas State does, ultimately, if it benefits student athletes, number one, the university, me, and the journalism school, that's really what I care about, you know?
But I don't think it will benefit. And that's where I've been really looking into it. Go watch the College World Series this weekend and you'll see Oregon State. Texas State's baseball team is nowhere in the same conversation, let alone in the same league as Oregon State's baseball program. In basketball, Zaga goes to the NCAA tournament, goes to the Elite Eight and Final Four every other year. They have an incredible basketball program. Our basketball team can't win a Sun Belt title, right? Our football team has been very good the last 2 years, but if you're going to put them in the same conversation as a Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State that have had relative success over the last 10 years, something that Texas State has not had, you're going to be in trouble. And I look at our little brother down the road at UTSA. And UTSA has all of these different problems, and they all come back from money. Texas State doesn't have a money problem. We're fine in the money. We're okay in the money department. We're okay in the coaching department. It's the, I think, winning games department that they've struggled in and like being on that level because there's levels to this. So again, maybe going to a different conference changes that. Maybe Don and Kelly will really push more resources to sports. But let me tell you this. You were living very large in a very good spot as the AD and president of a university in the Sun Belt. When you go to the Pac-12, there's now more expectations here. And I know that Kelly and Don both think, okay, we got this. I'm telling you that the water will be much deeper and the seats will get very hot very quick for all the coaches at Texas State if we make this jump.
This is completely a symptom of me being Zen Jakob right now because I'm fresh off of a run. We're recording this podcast I've had some time to let this
To
this
digest. Yeah.
this exactly the news digest, to let the juices set in, and to kind of relax about it. Because if I'm not breaking the news, like, it really doesn't matter to me, you know? So
Well, so and that's what I was curious when we recorded the pod. I was like, are we going to have to do an emergency podcast when this becomes official? Because we've kept kicking it
yeah,
down the road. It was
yeah.
supposed to be April, then May,
And
then
again,
early
I mean,
June.
like, these are still speculatory things, right? It's like Texas State is suspected or
Rumored,
likely.
rumored. Yeah.
Exactly. All of these big parentheses marks next to them, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, is this even news? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how
100%.
to. Yeah, of course, because Pete Thamel broke it, and the only reason he's getting it is because these guys are talking to him, and because these guys are talking to him, they want to be big time. It's like what I'm telling you. Like, they
Well,
don't
and I'll say
break
this
it
too.
because they want to be big time.
I am not against the Pac-12 because everybody else is for it. Like it's not a zimmel zag.
Mhm.
That's not what this is. This is me thinking about the student athletes, and I don't think this will help us in the long term. Us being a middle of the road Pac-12 team and us having our student athletes having to travel all across the Western Conference doesn't make sense to me. And on top of that, I like the idea that all of our games will become night games because we're going to have to kick off at like 7, 9 p.m. sometimes for some of these games in Central Time Zone. I like that part of it, but you're telling me that we just got fans back in the stadium, and now at 9 p.m., the time that most of these people are usually pre-gaming the Square on a Saturday, they're going to come to the field? Like, I find it hard to believe.
I do think that's slightly wishful thinking. Like, you're telling me,
On my part,
no, like, for on the part of like
yeah.
the athletic administration, that they're like, we got this fan base who's like what, 16, 18,000 deep now. We got a coalition of the willing. No, hot girls are gonna go to the square on Friday nights, sir.
Saturday nights. Yeah.
Saturday
No, and
nights,
but
Thursday
and
nights,
that's
Tuesday nights. I don't know when these games are
it
gonna be
kind
flexed
and
on.
that's the thing too. It kind of helps that we are building a tradition of playing midweek games because that's might be the time that we have to be playing these games is 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. But I ask you, at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday in college, what were you doing? Was it going to a football game or was it studying for a test? Was it taking a class? Was it I know in your case, drinking in your office. Like, there's a lot of different things you could do instead of going to a football game.
If the opportunity was to watch a Pac-12 After Dark game on a Tuesday night in San Marcos, I probably would have been there.
Okay.
Considering that the Pac-12, when we were in school, was a lot different. And if we had found our way ass backwards into the Pac-12 back then, I would have had a lot of questions, but I would have had a lot of fun, I think, too.
I agree. I will say too, and this is I think a good segue into let's talk about our ex. Let's talk about the Sun Belt because these guys are kicking us out of this conference very quickly, which
Yeah.
shocked me. I
It's
was
kind of
very
like
surprised.
it's kind of like maybe they've been flirting around. Maybe they've been a little text chaining, you know?
I am surprised how quick because President Danfus has said that he is a fan of the Sun Belt Conference, that he loves the Sun Belt Conference, that him and Keith Gill are friends. But how quickly this conference is turning and going La Tech, Eastern Carolina. Like, I'm a little Sam Houston State got rumored. I'm a little surprised. Like, I don't love this. I don't love the idea that like we leave and everybody's like, good
Well,
riddance, bye. Like,
pray, pray,
surprised me a little bit.
pray tells them, but this is a scenario. Again, parentheses, comedy podcast. You're in a long-term relationship, suddenly things end, you
Okay.
know? C'est la vie, que sera, sera. No love lost. That's all cool. But on your phone, you got some people who you could probably spin the block with. You got a girl from chemistry class. You got a girl that worked at the ice cream parlor with you back in the day. You're starting to look at these as options again. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. So you're saying these options were always available. The depth chart was always there. All right. Okay. That's a fair point.
Especially as you look at how some of those schools did in the conferences, with their prospective partners, you're being respectful. You're not swiping up on the Instagram stories or whatever. But I'm just saying.
I do like that you had to
You
preface it
are
with a
looking
compliment.
at the stories. You are looking at the captions. You're looking at
It's a fair
emoji
point.
usage now.
It's a fair point because I have said for years that you want to have a depth chart with whatever you do. You want to have guys on the sideline that you can bring in, whether it be a job or I guess in a relationship or in a conference. You want to have the ability to go and have somebody else there. I'm just surprised
This is a
how.
perfect example. And when you look at my phone, I'm gonna have to blur this out. You're gonna
Oh
know
wow,
exactly what I'm talking about, big dog.
got it. Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. That's a
Boom.
fair point.
That just worked itself out in real time, everybody.
That's shocking. All right, so I will say that I'm surprised how quickly they're willing to get rid of us. But then I think to myself, how good of a conference partner were we? Like when it came to football, for the majority of our time in the Sun Belt, not that great. When it came to baseball, we did a good job, not a
I would
great
say
job.
I would say above average, but very, like that 2022 season is kind of an anomaly now.
All of these sports, I don't know if we helped the Sun Belt or if the Sun Belt helped us because there was a long time where we were saying like they're kind of dragging us along. That the App States, the Troys, the world were doing the Louisianas of the world were doing a really good job in the football field and dragging the conference up, while teams like us and ULM were kind of hurting them. So I guess I'm not shocked. I shouldn't be shocked, but I was surprised how quickly the rumors were like, well, we have all these other options because they've done a really good job, I think, with Sunbelt of geographically, we are in the Southeast. Like the Southeastern Conference is in the Southeast, kind of, but like the Sunbelt Conference is in the Southeast. So they are going after Southeastern teams. La Tech, Eastern Carolina, Southeastern teams. So, which is good. Texas State, still, we're stuck in the middle. We're stuck. Okay, well, we didn't want to go to the East Coast. Well, guess what? Have fun on the West Coast, like, because that's where we're going to end up.
I know. I guess when you look at Kelly and Don just as people, right? Like, there's only really one of them that I would think to be extremely loyal to the Sun Belt, and that's Don, because for the majority of his tenure
Really.
at Texas State, like that's where we were. And shout out my guy Drew Gonzalez, friend of the podcast, subscriber to the podcast. Appreciate you. But he was on CFB Reddit yesterday, and he was talking about how when he was in school in 4 different years, Texas State was in 4 different conferences.
Mm,
That is kind of the identity shift that like we had that a lot of people didn't. Is that for the majority of the time that we were in school, Texas State was in the Sun Belt, and like whether or not Texas State had legitimate like opponents or like enemies or rivals in the Sun Belt is one thing, but I damn sure hated the Cajuns after 4 years, and I wanted to beat them so bad.
Well, so let me ask you, these are the future teams that are joining the Pac-12, quote unquote. Okay. So it's Oregon State and Washington State. Those are the two teams that are in it currently. In 2026, it'll be Boise State, California State, Colorado State, Gonzaga, San Diego State, Utah State, and then potentially Texas State. Does that impress you at all? Is that something that you're intrigued in?
This reminds me of a conversation that I had with one Philip Pongrantz
Ah,
in the press box of UFCU Stadium, probably like the first or second game of the year. And he was like, "Are we joining the state conference?" And I said, "This is already the dumbest conversation I've had today, but sure, why not?" That was then, this is now, when it's my reality apparently that I'm going to become a Pac-12 reporter. Crazy.
yeah, man. I don't know. I just am like the Utah State Texas State rivalry. That just doesn't. I don't know. Doesn't sit right with me. And I will say too, if this would have happened, if the conference fell apart and Texas State was one of the first people they called, and they were able to keep like Arizona State and Arizona, all right, Arizona State Texas State rivalry. We already played them once. They just went to the conference or playoff games. Like I'd be interested in that rivalry. I'm not so interested in playing Utah State. You
Yeah.
know, so I guess this is the way we'll go. And the one thing I will say, I'm watching a lot of Boise State volleyball. I'll be paying a lot of attention to what's going on over there.
Listen, if you're not watching women's sports by now, you're gonna have a lot of time on your hands
Oh,
because
by the way, Jacob, this is a development over the past like 14 days, has turned into the number one women's sports fan, which I'm here for. I'm loving it. This is great.
facts, dude. No, I mean we got to make a few concessions, right, before we fully accept Texas State going to the Pac-12. Number one is that at the end of the day, Texas State is just money hungry, right? It's always
Gotta be.
been it reminds me of that space meme, like there's two astronauts in
Yeah.
space. Was it always about money? Always was. Like, yeah, no duh, right? Now there's even more money coming in. revenue sharing,
20
NIL
million
stuff.
from the school can give, 20
Yeah,
million that the school can pay. Yeah.
exactly. But the thing is, like, the rich are still going to stay rich with this. This is now millionaires becoming billionaires. And where is any of this money going? Is it going to volleyball, to softball, to other women's sports? Nay, it's going to football. That's why there's already a coalition of women's basketball players that are suing the NCAA. So it's
Yeah.
just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's very much not college football that you and I grew up watching, but there was always dark money going around
But
anyway.
let me ask you this, because we're media members and we're also young media members that have potential to go get jobs other places. If the Texas State Bobcats join the Pac-12 and they sign a 10-year deal, so for the next 10 years, they're in the Pac-12, right? Hypothetically. Would you think about getting a job on the West Coast? Would you be looking at jobs on the West Coast because now I can go to Fresno State, or I can go to Utah State, or and I know I can catch Texas State games? Or if the options are like, I have a job that I can take in California or a job I could take in South Carolina, would you be now consider, okay, California, at least I get to see Texas State games in like an okay time period, like zone?
No thanks, Tom Hanks. I'm out. I don't want the West Coast at all. This is, I guess, manifest destiny almost, right? Like now Texas State, like till the whole world knows our name, we're completing that Western like coast
But
experience now.
but again, if they don't compete, what's the point? If they're just another team, what's the point?
And so what is the transition timeline? Like when we actually join, is that 26?
It would be 26, I think.
So boy, basketball and baseball are really interesting this year, huh?
Yeah, yeah, they are. Because again, you both these coaches staff, and this is what I'm saying. If you go to a new conference, the coaching staffs immediately are on red alert. And I would argue that women's basketball is on red alert. I think those three for sure are. You have to be competitive this year. You cannot go 500. You have to be competitive in the Sun Belt because you're going to a better conference. Like the conference there, I look at those two teams at the top. Boise State went to the playoffs last year. Right? Gonzaga is a constant men's basketball powerhouse. Oregon State and Washington State are both very good schools at football comparatively to Sun Belt schools. Right? Like I'm saying to myself, you have to be competitive. Now, I worry about all of our players. I worry about our coaches, and I don't think it's worth the trip. I just don't. If we make this jump, that's great. I'll be banging my chest. Pac-12, we'll be talking Pac-12, but damn it, I don't love it.
I have already predicted the future because I said next year or whenever, after this football season, GJ is going to get another extension. That's pretty much set in stone at this point. If this move goes down, most likely it will, but I have to keep talking like that because it's not official again.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the stories that came out about? Well, there's two really good ones. The one from the Arkansas State guy talking about how Texas State going is just building the reputation of Oregon State and Washington State for them to jump conferences again. What do you think of that one?
Dude, I thought that should keep people up at night because if Oregon State and Washington State leave, not like as if like they're on their own, like they're like big enough to move the needle one way or another, but it does kind of completely change the identity of the conference if those not founding members, I don't think, but those original members.
Those precious stones. Like I would look at UT as like a precious like hope diamond, right? For for the SEC, right? Oregon State and Washington State are pieces of granite. They're good stones. They're solid stones. They're not, precious stones by any means, but you got to have those if you want to build a good conference.
I think, and this is circling way back to a point that you made. I think I do have faith in Kelly Danfus. That is one person I do believe in unabashedly. I believe in Don Coryell too. But this is going to be a very big test. There's going to be a lot of decisions to make in a very short amount of time.
I would argue this is the biggest change culturally, monetarily since jumping to since jumping to being a Division I football team. And that transition was done terribly. One of the worst transitions in the history of the sport. This is a new page. This is a new chapter. But if you mess it up again, you're going to lose, 5 years worth of growth that you've been building towards? I would not gamble this right now, but they are. So congratulations. Good luck. We'll always be Texas State guys, but damn it, this isn't great.
Especially with this horse specifically. You go to the track, you see a
Yeah.
horse and you're like, sure, that one. Really? Skippy over there? Ah, Skippy's got a great payout, but Skippy's also got a weird third leg. I don't know.
So I want to. Are we done with this? Because I feel like we're beating a dead horse here. Pun intended.
Ha
Yeah.
ha ha. Well, what else would we
I
possibly
would say
talk about?
I have one more. So if it gets done, does it get done July 1st? Does it get done this month? When do you think it gets done?
They said something about the 10th of July being like make or break because
Yeah.
that's when you need to figure out your ducks in a row. I think the reason they leaked it to Pete is so that they can get the ball moving, And again, Pete's just twiddling his thumbs at his desk at ESPN, waiting for ADs across the country to give him news, just barely journalism. Again, in my mind, he's not filling out open records requests. He's barely doing what our fans are doing and are so good at on the internet. How is he a better
Sleuthing.
journalist than us?
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
But I will tell you, it does tickle me every time I see ESPN notification, Texas State in the headlines. And who is it? Freaking Pete Thamel, the only guy who they leak information to. The
Yeah.
only time he's ever been like nearly wrong is the whole Midwest Conference thing, but that ended up just being all about money too. So these guys are only about paper. So I have to follow the money and assume we're going to the Pac-12. Parentheses, most likely.
I want to laugh at UTSA.
Oh yeah, the Pat Hallmark thing, dude.
How the hell do you sign a contract like that? How the hell does that get in front of him? I don't understand that.
350 thou. He's making,
Dude,
I think, $200,000 more than Steve Trout right now.
is it worth it?
They're not going to go to the Super Regionals again.
Is it worth? I'm just saying. I don't think it's worth it. I think they way overpaid, and it's because of a clerical error.
Who could
Error.
they have, who could they have gotten?
What do you mean? Like to go get a coach?
I think everybody already knows about this, but just in case you don't know, a year ago, Pat Hallmark signed a contract that would take him through like 2029 or I don't know,
I thought it was 32, but it might have been 29.
something like that. Whatever, right? He signed like a 4-year extension like 2 years ago. And so while the super regionals and stuff is going on, he realizes, hey, wait a minute. Let me take a look at that contract because my phone is starting to
His
ring.
his agent realizes.
I have to cut this out of the show.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
So while the super regionals are going down, he's like, let me take a look at that contract. And maybe let me hire an agent too to look at this contract. And so he looks at the contract. They come to the conclusion that UTSA filled out that paperwork incorrectly and had like the end date like 2026. So he goes, hey, I'm going to use this as a chance to get more money. More power to you, Pat Hallmark. You were making 150,000 before. Now you're making 350 bands, bro. Congratulations.
And how does it end up in front of him? Like, if you're UTSA, and I like Lisa Campos, a couple times I've talked to her, she's been fine. But like, that is a fireable offense in I'm gonna go with like 50% of college athletics. Like most college sports, if that happened, imagine if that happened in Texas or A&M or even Tech, you would be on the hot seat. It would be over for you. At Texas State, even. That's a Larry Tice move. That's the worst insult I can give you. That's something Larry Tice would do. All right. You doing that is embarrassing to your organization, to your school, and you got damn lucky he decided to stay there and resign. Because if he would have left, when they fired you, that would be one of the things in the career obituary. You let your coach who got you to the super regional walk. And I agree with you. I don't think they're getting there again. I think with NIL money, I don't think any of those dudes are going to be on that team. They had like 10 seniors. They're all graduating. This is a once in a lifetime type of shot that you had. Congratulations. You made the most of it. We were rooting for you down here. I wanted the group of 5 team to do well. But man, oh man, I think it's over.
Truly, when the music stopped, you'll know exactly where I was when you told me that
Yeah.
UTSA beat Texas in the regionals. I was so angry, but also kind of glad that, you know,
Like a group of 5. Yeah, it's a group of 5 team.
a
Like
group of
I
five
want
team made it all the
mid-major.
way, especially if they take down Texas, brother. Appreciate it.
I was rooting for Murray State in the World Series. They're out. Coastal's still in it. I'm rooting for Coastal. Like I want one of the mid majors to win it for sure. But I'm more laughing at UTSA because how do you let that happen? And speaking of, let's
And the
talk.
school that
Okay.
wanted to hire him away, San Diego State, who sucks at baseball, kind of, but is also much better than us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and we got our laughs off at UTSA. Ha ha ha. Let's talk about our graphics department because I have been told many times like the kid made the graphic his own. Shout out to him. Congratulations on getting the offer, committing to Texas State baseball. Congrats. This is where I'm going to have an issue. The skyline behind him isn't San Marcos, but it's not Austin either. So I think it's an AI generated skyline that they just threw in the back there. And people were like, well, it's Austin skyline. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. I don't think it is. I think it's a generic skyline that they just threw in the background. But you can't do that because
That
it's so
skyline,
obvious not Texas State.
that skyline is like when dudes from Corpus Christi or McAllen get the skyline on, and there's only like two big buildings on their neck. It's like an apartment building, the Chase
Yeah.
Bank, and then like, a few other things. It didn't look great. Not the best
No.
graphic I've ever seen. But
But
also
that's
not an indictment on our graphic stuff. So,
because we don't have one. Because we don't have a graphics department
Well,
anymore.
yeah, we don't have a graphics department, but I offered the baseball team. I said, if this is what it takes, I will make recruit graphics for y'all. I can for sure make them better than the basketball team. Have you seen those? Those are awful.
Yeah, those are bad too.
Those are pretty bad.
You know what's funny? So we had Alex on a couple years ago, and he talked about the graphics, and he went on to bigger and better things. But we
He's
were like,
at Boise State too, so we'll run into Chris Coots and all the gang pretty soon.
I know Chris Coons is just poaching dudes from Texas State, bringing them to Idaho.
Could you imagine
So-
he gets the ESPN notification? He could just go, Jesus Christ, I can't get rid of these guys.
No, but like we said to Alex, oh, the graphics are going to be worse. The football graphics weren't that much worse. They were pretty good actually this last year, but
Yeah,
everything
actually,
else
they
is
kind of
worse.
kicked ass, to be honest.
Everything else is worse.
Vibes are kind of worse now. There's a big magnifying glass on Texas State now.
Magnifying.
Magnifying. There's a big magnifying glass on Texas State now with all this. Every single sport, every single thing that Texas State does has the potential to be a national headline now, honestly, with the Pac-12.
Which is good, but also, I
But
don't
also,
know. Do we want all of our stuff? It was nice when we were just kind of, again, you want the sleeping giant to be woken up. I've heard that a bajillion times now. But at the same time, when you were building, you want to build in silence. You don't want to have to build out in front of everybody else.
And that's why I've always hated that moniker, because I don't think Giants sleep, number one, but also I just think like Texas State was always kind of too big to ignore, And now, literally until the whole world knows our name, everybody's gonna know that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like there's no excuses anymore. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear, oh, we lost, we can't do media. Oh, you're about to be big time.
No, you got it.
You want to be big time? This is what it takes, baby.
You got it. If they do what they did last year to Colton and Kef and not give players and stuff, like that's a problem. You have to talk to them.
So Bush League, it's not even funny. And I think I'm the only one that's not afraid to say it and tell people to their faces week to week about it. But like, it's embarrassing, honestly.
Oh, we were at the spring game and I brought it up to Lindsay. I was like, what are like the SID? I said, what do we have to do to get some people to talk around here? Like, I love you. Let's put Squaring Around's name on that, not just Jakob Rodriguez.
I'm shaking this pear tree. I'm just saying.
I think we both are. I want to get a little bit of credit here.
Yeah. You're right. Andrew. You're right. Can we go down the line? How does this affect every sport?
Football has to essentially do what they did the last 2 years for the next 5. They have to go 7-5 or better, or 6-6, 7-5. That would be my football take. Volleyball will be probably in a similar spot. The competition's a little bit better. Boise State's okay. San Diego State's okay at volleyball, from my understanding. Gonzaga's okay, from my understanding, at volleyball, but like it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not like you're playing Texas and Nebraska, but it is a good group. Men's basketball, we were already starting at a disadvantage, so we got to figure out a way to get that back to 500 at the least. Women's basketball, last year was a down year with injuries. This year, you're hoping to bring some players back. You're hoping that those players grow. I would argue that we're, again, working at a little bit of a disadvantage, but maybe opening up the West Coast to recruiting will help. I'm hoping that, playing in a conference on the West Coast, people will want to be at Texas State. But if it's just money, then we need to start pounding money into women's basketball. Softball's, I feel pretty fine. I don't think that that's the end of the world. It was disappointing for them to lose the way that they did this year. but they've always been pretty good. Baseball, again, if they play like they played this year, Steve Trout's out. You have to be competitive next year. And then track and field had a bunch of people just do stuff at nationals and compete and get placed. So we're fine there.
Yeah,
So
second place, Nationals, pretty good.
That's a quick rundown. That's off the top of my head.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad for baseball, dude. I've already it's already
Oh,
starting to sink in how much this season's going to mean to me. Circling back to UTSA, right? I got into kind of a debate with Craven online. Like
do you want to talk about that too?
if you were, oh, yeah, we
Because
should,
that's on my
honestly.
that's on my deal too.
So I got into a debate with Craven, right? This is before the news that everybody is hoping we talk about
Yeah.
happened. But I got into a debate online, and he was like, "If you were the UTSA AD and you had $1 million, where would you spend it and why?" And I go,
Oh, yeah.
and I said, "Baseball. You know, those boys deserve it. You could see a way if you just put $1 million into NIL for baseball or softball or literally anything other than football, and you just put it into NIL, you could get crazy good
You're
fast,
seeing crazy returns. Okay,
crazy
but
return."
but
But he said if you're putting your money into anything other than football, that's bad. And that's like what a lot of people say too. Maybe it's just because I watch every sport that we do, but that's my take.
so Craven's not wrong, and I agree with him. I think that if you have $1 million, you're not putting it towards football. You're kind of, unless you are an avid fan, you have a kid on the team, or you're like you love Steve Trout, you love Texas State baseball. If you just have $1 million to spend as an AD, it's got to go to football because that is the front porch. It's the most important thing.
But how much money
Is
do those guys need? They already have I'm already bankrolling them millions of dollars every year. Like, so what am I
well,
gonna do? Give them if I'm giving them $20 million already with rev sharing, what are they gonna do with $1 more million?
every bit counts, and you know
But
that
but
every
could you
little bit
imagine
counts.
if I gave $1 million to volleyball?
I
The
know.
difference
No,
that
I
would make.
agree.
And
But
really, like if I'll be honest, if you gave $1 million to UTSA's volleyball team, you wouldn't see that much of a difference because Sean
really,
Hewitt's got some dogs, brother.
yeah.
And if we
By the way,
gave him a
shout out to
million
Prague.
dollars, if shout out Sean Hewitt on his Europe tour. We're gonna see you after. Pull
Yep.
up. But if we gave Sean Hewitt $1 million, I'm sure that he would be a better steward of that money than the football team because the football team's gonna piss that away renting a Ferrari.
I'm telling you, I agree with what you're saying, but unless you are a diehard fan of that sport or you have a kid on the team, $1 million to the football team does mean more. It does. You have to pay the football and get a good football team because look, I couldn't tell you how Alabama softball did this year, but I can tell you the exact score of their bowl game loss. Like that's just how it goes. So I you hate to see it. Craven's right, but talking about Dave Campbell's being wrong.
So about that, we're gonna have to be a little strategic about how we talk about this. So should we talk about the elefante in the room? Like, obviously, Dave Campbell's is making some changes that has not affected this show yet, but it has affected some people close to the show. Contractually, me and Zimmel are actually not allowed to talk about any of that stuff, believe it or not. High
Really?
school, storied high school sports magazine in the state of Texas was doing college for a while.
Does high school sports?
Yeah, don't be
Yeah.
surprised when they do high school sports. I don't know. I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. I didn't know that we were muzzled. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
read your contracts when you sign them, bro.
I'm excited for Dave Campbell's Texas. That's gonna be fun with the high school sports. That's gonna be good. Little video streaming action.
Yeah, they've
Uh,
slowly been building like a video streaming empire for all of
and I will
all of
say,
or
from
all of high school
somebody
athletics.
from somebody who has been outside the state of Texas, you do not know how good you have it, Texas fans. You do not know how good you have it to have Dave Campbell's around because I was one of the people who was trying to do a Dave Campbell's thing in North Dakota, and it was awful. It's so hard. It sucks so bad. Like it's so difficult to make a good product for high school sports, point blank period. But to have a good video streaming quality as well is nearly impossible. They have the resources to do it. And I'm so glad that they're doing it.
It's so funny because this is actually a Republic of Football podcast episode. So
Hey, look at that.
big
Free plug.
headline, Texas State joining the Pac-12, probably also big headline. More changes to come at DCTF? I don't know.
They did a good
Yes.
job. I like the video. I like the video component. And I think that it's going to be good for the magazine and the growth of the company.
I think everything's pretty good for me on my end because they've already asked me to write about UTRGV. Writing about Texas State as we speak, you know.
Yeah, for sure. No, do we know who the
Honestly,
quarterback is yet?
if you're looking for the positive spin on this is that squaring around is going to be a-okay, brother.
Do we know the quarterback yet for Texas State?
Probably Brad Jackson, if I had to guess.
But like, do we know for sure, or are we going to find out week one?
No, dude. We're lucky if we get to see them before week one, honestly, the way things are rolling.
I heard that they're in tubing this weekend. Do you want to try to crash the tubing?
They're tubing this weekend?
Yeah.
What do I got going on this weekend? Nothing.
Do you want to just show up?
But I'm
Be
supposed to
like,
go
hey,
tubing next weekend. You want me to go tubing back to back weeks now?
hey, I'm not saying just how much are you gonna. Pete Thamel wouldn't do it. Pete Thamel wouldn't go tubing to find out.
Pete Damel's in his office chair, twiddling his thumbs, waiting for an AD across the country to text him. How is that journalism? Seriously. How is that journalism?
Thamel's not on the river trying to figure out like who the quarterback is. I'm just saying. Could be the move. Could be like a hey, GJ.
There's a right and a wrong answer for where you go tubing at Texas or in San Marcos. Where do you
There's a
go?
right and wrong answer on should you jump your college football coach to find out depth chart information.
Oh, hey, GJ. What a coincidence.
Exactly.
Andrew,
Real journalism.
what the heck are you guys?
Hey, I got some Dos Equis for some questions answered.
Who wants
Two
a Scooby
questions for
snack?
one to, huh?
Who wants a Scooby snack?
One beer for a question answered? Not might be the answer. You know what I mean?
He's gonna give us yes or no.
Is Brad Jackson starting quarterback?
Yes.
There you go. That's all I need to know.
One Dos Equis, please.
Yeah, that's fine. That is fine. I think
Is,
that'd be the
is
way to
Pete
do it.
Thamel a real journalist? No.
Yeah, I gotta defend my guy Pete. I like Pete Thamel.
What's he doing? Bro, people act like sports journalism is real. It's not. I'll be honest.
Colton, we'll hear your take next week.
Well, he's different. I guess he's covering like 30 teams too.
Colton's getting himself in hot water. He
What?
not hot water, but he's putting people in hot water. The Undertaker's coming out. So he got referenced in another one of those Sunbelt blog posts, and they
Really?
called him. Oh, yeah, they
Oh,
called him
the
a
Cajun dude, right?
yeah, they called him a local columnist, and he was like, "Can you just name drop me? Can you name me in my place?" That's funny.
That's true. I mean, why not? Why are
It's,
you
I
afraid?
mean,
why are these afraid? Why are these guys afraid?
can I just say, if you
Why
want
are
to
these
quote
guys
me,
afraid to wrestle me in jujitsu, bro?
quote if you're gonna ever quote this podcast, go left. Poncho and Lefty is the name of the show. First off, and second off, local gas bag is how I want to be addressed.
If you use any clip from this podcast, I swear to God, I'll sue you. Just like that dude from ODU. I'm gonna send a cease and desist to his ass. By the way, no love lost there. No love lost, brother. You know what? If we never played Sam Houston State again, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back. No more, no more, no more, no more.
Jeez, I wouldn't mind UTSA fans telling me that their conference is better than the Pac-12 is. That's kind of joke too.
Yeah, for sure. San Diego State's pretty great at a lot of things. Not baseball,
Yeah.
but a lot of things.
I think they're good at track too.
Nothing to do over there except live in your car in San Diego and run around the track.
I tell you, man, that would be outside of
You
that.
could
I
not
mean,
afford
like,
a hotel to cover those games, by the way.
how much is a hotel in San Diego's going for right now?
Right now, if we had
Yeah.
a bowl game in San Diego,
No, not a bowl game. We'd have a normal regular game. San Diego hotels. $183 to stay at the Sheraton San Diego Resort. That's not
Yeah.
bad. $80 on the Samsun Ocean Beach. Not bad.
oh, okay.
I think it's a very affordable city.
See, okay, you and I have different tastes, you know?
Yeah, you're looking at the 5-star caviar.
Yeah. Why don't we stay in San Diego? Let's stay at the Lafayette Hotel and Club.
There you go.
A little throwback to our Sunbelt brethren. By the
I
way,
love
I
it.
will kind of miss the Trojans. And I will kind of miss the Cajuns. I will miss App State. I really wanted to get this Marshall feud going. Never happened. We're gonna play James Madison all of like one time.
Yeah, the Withers Bowl.
So this is winner take all bowl season
Yeah,
in the Sun Belt. If
pretty
you didn't
much.
win in this season, it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it's the revenge tour. So
Revenge tour.
goodbye, Tech State. This would be our
A
luck that we go over.
stranger, goodbye,
We throw it back to the old school and we go over in a conference play.
brother. Eastern Michigan, week 1, dub. At UTSA, week 2, dub. Week 3, oh, at Tempe. That's an L. That's for sure an L.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to you straight, boys. You better take your medicine now because it's gonna get a lot worse in 2026.
So you got to cut this part of the pod.
Tell you what, it really sucks because I just got our email sorted out with the Sun Belt. Like we were only getting like football and a few other things.
Uh-huh.
And so I reached out to the Sun Belt,
Oh yeah.
got us on like the email list, and they're like, "Oh, so sorry about that. I guess it was going to another folder or whatever." Now guess what? Now I gotta unsubscribe to all these email lists now.
I'm still subscribed to this North Dakota State one.
Really?
Yeah. I'm getting the updates on the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
Maybe that'll come in handy when you get like a national show, and you get to talk about all these conferences.
Hey, did you know that this coach in this podunk town got moved? You're like, oh, cool.
And Cam
Appreciate
Ward
that.
was drafted #1 overall. He used to play at UIW.
Oh yeah, that's like the most annoying thing in the world.
That's bar trivia. How come his rookie cards, are not worth as much as Anthony Richardson's last year? What the fuck is that?
You know, Brady McBride's dad was a coach.
What?
Remember that? It was like, you remember Brady McBride's dad was a coach? We're like, what? Come on, how do you forget that joke already?
No idea.
It was like every game that they went to him in the crowd.
Nope.
Whatever. All right.
Well, honestly, back in those days, I had those games on mute, brother.
That's fair. It's a fair point.
Yeah. Also, by the way, you posted a picture of your mom scrapbooking some of
Yeah.
the articles that you wrote back in college. You wrote about Texas State at SMU. I'm pretty sure that was the first time that we played them.
Mhm.
And I took a picture of a quarterback, and I was like, oh, I wonder who was behind center. Gresh
Jensen. Yeah.
You remember Gresh Jensen, brother?
You're old as hell, bro. Like, that was
Salute.
crazy.
Yeah.
I was looking at that and I was like, Gresh Jensen? Really?
That's how bad that game got towards the end. That was a great pick, too, by the way.
Good picture, for sure. I like how you had to ask, did I really take that? I was like, yeah.
I was like, dang, I was pretty nice at this back in the day.
Or you didn't take it and you just gave yourself credit. So.
No, that's why I had to ask. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I took that. If not, it was me. Or if not, it was Kate. But I'm pretty sure I took it.
No, it was Claire. Because she didn't go to whatchamacallit.
She was in the box.
Well, I'm saying, like,
Remember, because I got ushered around by Secret Service, and I was like, "Who are these guys? Am I gonna die right now?" And then George Bush came out of nowhere, and I was like,
yeah, that checks out.
"This just reminds me, like, this entire situation reminds me of like a high school reunion. Like, let's say you were like this little podunk kid. You hit puberty late, you were ugly, you had a bad personality, right?" Then you graduate. Nobody thinks you're going to be anything. You go off to colegio. You come back. Hey, this guy's got a six-pack now. He's kind of cool. He rushed a fraternity or something. Now he's got his life in order.
Why are we doing a Jacob Rodriguez history lesson? Like, what's
pretty good
going
paying
on here?
job? I'm just saying. And then you go back to your hometown, and now suddenly the people that didn't want you, but only because you check a few certain boxes. It works out money-wise. It works
State?
out team-wise. It works out institutionally-wise, Like, these guys didn't want us in the first place. So remember who wanted you at the beginning and who wants you now. You know what I'm saying? Texas State's going to join the Pac-12 probably. I'm still kind of like, whatever about it, I guess. I don't know. Ultimately, I guess if it's better for Texas State, that's cool. But if we got to watch games on the CW, that does kind of suck.
Will we bring on Pac-12 writers and zombie Pac-12 people? Chris Coots.
To talk like Fresno State or to talk?
Yeah.
I guess we have no choice.
Yeah, because we know nothing. Like, I had a decade of knowledge on the Sun Belt, and now I have nothing on this new Pac-12.
There was this like Fresno State account that was just Pony noobs online, Texas State style. Yeah, dude.
What?
Yeah, he was dog walking dudes. Him and Thad got into it. It was a whole thing.
Really?
That was
Did
crazy.
not see that. That said something like bringing Stanford back to the Pac-12. I was like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, good luck with that.
That's not happening.
Listen, sir, Stanford is actually full of smart people, and there's no way they're doing that.
That's like, I said wishful thinking, brother. That's
This
like
is
wishing
a
on a
bunch of
star
schools,
thinking.
State that want to be considered in this upper echelon, and they have to have the money to do it, which somehow we do, and the people to do it, which we have way more than enough of, alumni base wise, and people who like care
Do you
about our
think that,
program.
let me ask you, do you think UTSA is in this conference in like 2 years?
Maybe.
I think so too. I think that they're going to be in a spot in 2 years where they're like, Pac-12, interesting. Because right now we still have no geographical rival. They would be the geographical rival.
If that 2026 season doesn't end up like somebody in the Pac-12 being like a CFP team, like getting into the same spot that Arizona State was in last year.
Well, Boise State just did it.
Yeah, I'm saying, but like,
yeah, that first season of all together.
Something has to happen like that for it to even make sense. To make sense, like on the money side for broadcast deals and stuff.
You're right.
We're really kind of all in on football right now.
That's why the $1 million got to go to football.
And if Oregon State and Washington State dip, that would be hilarious too, to be honest.
The worst case scenario. Thanks for squaring, everybody.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.